For this assignment, we listened to three people talk about what it's like to live with their disability and what the ADA laws are. ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities Act, and it was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush in 1990. This law guarantees equal rights and opportunities for jobs and resources to disabled people. Dr. Oluwafemi went from being an able-bodied man to somebody with a disability. Not only was he treating people with disabilities before, but he had not realized how discriminated and marginalized they were. It's sad but not completely uncommon that people don't notice how inaccessible things are until they're put in that position of being disabled. Housing, transportation, and equal access to public facilities are things that should not need to be considered special. These are basic human rights that everybody should have. Dr. Oluwafemi said, "So the best case scenario is one in which we don't judge or limit others based on differences, but we actually celebrate those differences and create equal access to all opportunities, regardless of what you look like, what your name sounds like, what your food tastes like, or where you live." Watching these videos made me think of a class that I took freshman year, and we learned about how Widener was ADA compliant. One of the assignments was to go around campus and see how accessible it was, and I was truly disappointed at how limited our campus was. There are so many places on campus that are not accessible to people in wheelchairs, such as the front of the library. The cobblestone will make it hard for people with wheelchairs to get through. Some of the curbs don't dip down so you can get up there with a wheelchair, and you even have to enter the library through the back if you are in a wheelchair or on crutches. The second video was about a woman named Marka Bristow who became paralyzed from the waist down from a diving accident at the age of 23. Marka helped fight against discrimination and create a better model of independent living for people with disabilities by leading strikes, filing lawsuits, and so much more. All of this eventually led to the creation of bus lifts in Chicago. While she may have been paralyzed from the waist down, she did not let this stop her from fighting for equal rights that everybody else was already guaranteed. She was often compared to Malcolm X or Martin Luther King for the people of the disabled community. Justin Dart, who was also another great advocate for Americans with disability, was also wheelchair-bound, and he traveled to all 50 states until he met Marka, and she continued his work for him. It's truly inspiring to me that people with disabilities like this work so hard to travel to all these states to make sure that everybody in these states knew that people with disabilities deserved equal rights. Something that Marka did that was truly inspiring to me was how hard she worked to break down the stigmatism that all disabled people need to constantly be looked after or they need your help. She made it very clear that there was nothing that she couldn't do for herself. I love that she does not let her disability define her, but instead empower her. The last video was about a girl named Jennifer, and she recalled back to the time in 1980 or 1990 when she got out of her wheelchair and climbed the stairs of the Washington Capitol. Jennifer climbed all the stairs to the Washington Capitol at just 10 years old. It was amazing to me that at just 10 years old, she wanted to prove to everybody that people with disabilities weren't receiving the same rights as everybody else. Even with all the cameras and attention that she had on her, she did not falter and she stayed strong and continued her climb. Jennifer was only 10 years old, but she was still a great activist for her community. It's kind of sad but inspiring that this is what pushed politicians to want to have equal rights for people that were disabled. The It's Our Story project is a national effort to make disability history public and accessible. Hearing this made me realize that we don't often learn about people with disabilities in our history classes. While Jennifer's story is inspiring, it's also sad because there's no reason that a child should need to climb up all of those stairs while being wheelchair-bound to prove a point. Oftentimes, when you think of the injustices in this country, you think of people of color, but there are also people of color that are disabled, so I can only imagine how much harder it is for them to continue to live on in a society like this.